Hey guys, Stealth here. A couple of weeks ago I was complaining that the New Orleans, or the New Orleans, or however you'd like to pronounce it, is not a very good ship. And I have an apology to make to this ship, because if you handle her the right way, then she actually becomes quite an effective warship. You just gotta make sure that you're not the one taking all of the attention. Because if you do, then you're quickly going to find yourself at the bottom of the ocean. Now, today we are on the map Northern Lights Domination version. It's a tier 8 game, which means I am the highest tier. That does help in getting most damage done, or at least a decent amount of damage done. We have a couple of battleships. Of course, there is the new Gneisenau. Someone already got the Bayern. Of course, I have already seen a couple of tier 10s, and before anyone starts to comment on these wallet warriors getting all of their tier 10s early, guys, does it matter? If these people want to start spending their money on a game that's giving them fun, that's giving them pleasure, that's giving them excitement, and they want to be the first to get the tier 10 from the German battleship line, then why not? Just let them do so. And if you find them to be wallet warriors, fine. You just don't have to share that with everyone. Anyway, back to New Orleans. I have the ship fully kitted out. I'm using premium consumables such as the premium AA as well as the premium radar, which means that my radar is pretty quick to cool down, or at least faster than normally. It has a 240 seconds or 4 minutes cooldown instead of the usual 6. Now I'm trying to get a couple of spots here early, or at least trying to lob a few shells over the islands, but of course they're a little bit too high for me to actually be effective here. So it's time to move up a bit further, and my thinking here is to move close to B, because there are 2 destroyers, and usually the destroyers will end up trying to capture these spots early. Now, there are the Benson and the Hatsuharu that are currently operating. There is the Benson. And this means that this ship is one of the first to start capping. He's currently engaging the Farragut right on the right to my bow there. And he's not doing very well. The Farragut is taking a massive kicking from the Benson. So it's time to move in. And unfortunately I don't have shots on him yet. So instead, time to focus on the enemy New Orleans. Now I only have HE loaded at the moment, whereas AP would have been a bit more useful. Especially considering that he was broadside onto me. Destroy a couple of AA guns, but otherwise nothing. So, moving up. Trying to get closer to the Benson. And I'm running at full speed, although you cannot quite see that in the replay. And I'm trying to get here as fast as possible. I'm trying to get into range so I can use my radar. And here it is. The Benson thinks he's safe in the smoke, but he has not accounted for radar. So, radar is active. It's going to be active for about 20 seconds, and as the Benson is probably wondering why the hell he's getting spotted, it's time to really put the final nail into the coffin of this ship, and my few HE shells will do that. First blood, a few points for defending the cap, and what I always try to do in situations such as this is try to coordinate with the team. So I actually mentioned that I was going to use radar. Now, quickly turning away. There are quite a lot of ships here, and they can do a lot of damage to me. There's even torpedoes coming in. And this Nuremberg has, unfortunately for him, run himself aground. A couple of shots coming in from, I believe, the enemy Nuremberg farther away. Fortunately, not very damaging shots. So I'm actually turning away, trying to get myself in a very, very shallow angle to him, to make sure that he doesn't get a broadside. Especially ships like Tirpitz can do massive amounts of damage. A couple of AP rounds going into the Nuremberg, and at a decent flat arc for him, they are actually doing a lot of damage. Unfortunately, just one Citadel. It's the only shell that was able to hit the ship. Now, a flat-on Tirpitz with its turtleback armor is very, very hard, if not impossible to penetrate, especially at this range with these guns. So I try to get the last of my AP rounds out of my shells, or out of my guns, and you can see they do absolutely no damage. Another salvo, and immediately switching back to HE. Now I have a couple of buddies around. we have over here the Amagi and the New Mexico. There's quite a few ships moving up around this corner. There's the Fuso, there's the Tirpitz, the Nuremberg, and there is yet another battleship over there, which I'm currently not entirely sure which it is. Now, before I run into the island, I have to take a bit of care to maneuver away, and I actually want to try and get back to sea so I can help capture that area. Unfortunately, our Farragut is so intent on capturing D that he left the cap just before he was going to cap it. So instead, it's up to me to go back and try and capture that zone. A couple of shots going in on the Fuso, doing very, very little damage. Although my Russian guns on the Chapayev do even less damage than this. So far, I haven't really done that much. So far I've only done 10,000 damage. Which, well, let's face it, it's not really that much. But then again, the match is still young. There is still a lot to be done. So, moving up, I'm only doing half speed, trying to keep that Fuso in range as long as possible. He ducks behind the island, trying to move up and trying to capture C. Because capturing also awards a large amount of XP, as well as credits, which is nice. So, moving up. Back to full speed. The ship accelerates pretty nicely. It's not the fastest ship around, but it gets the job done. Although I think that overall the US cruisers could still use a bit of buffs here and there. Not exactly sure it would be to their speed, but with the Russian guns, the German cruisers, and the Japanese HE wielding torpedo firing cruisers, I find that the US cruisers don't really have anything that makes them too special. So, time to move up, and oh, we got a target up ahead. Another New Orleans. Now, this New Orleans is pretty much full health. He's in almost the same situation I am. But I'm expecting him to go broadside, so I'm already loading I'm already loading AP instead. He's not exactly going for it yet. He knows I'm here. Here's his rounds incoming. I keep zigzagging a bit to avoid his damage. It bounces harmlessly off of my bow, while his bow takes a bit of damage. Again, I'm trying to seduce him into going broadside so I can get a couple of nice penetrating hits on him. Switch back to HE instead. Do a bit of damage, put him on fire. And he is starting to run out of room to maneuver. And here it is. He starts to broadside. Perfect shot into the lower angles of the ship, doing 20,000 points of damage with 4 citadels. It's not what he was hoping for, but it is what he deserved when he showed me his broadside there. Almost loaded. A couple of HE rounds going in, as I wasn't quite sure I was going to be able to get the New Orleans instead. But there's an Alba already pushing up. So instead of pushing forward and risking running into the torpedoes from the Alba, I'm moving backwards and reversing. And considering that I wasn't quite sure if I had a good shot on the New Orleans, instead I fired at the Alba, whereas of course I should have killed off the New Orleans. Somebody else takes care of that for me. Alba is turning away. I fire a last salvo of AP in him, but he was just angled too much and it didn't really do that much. So, enough backing up, time to start moving forwards. And I gotta keep my bow towards this ship, because this guy has, there we go, probably fired torpedoes. Unfortunately for him, not enough, and quite easily avoided, really. But then again, I was maneuvering quite unpredictably. I was quite unusual in my maneuvers, in the sense that I was moving backwards, instead of normally 1/4 or half speed ahead, as most people predict. So, next couple of targets are on the other side of the mountain here. A couple of battleships are slugging it out with my battleships. The Farragut has died quite a while ago and is, I believe, no longer with us. It's just the Fubuki here to my south. And remember what I said about that Farragut not capturing because he was a bit too happy to maneuver away? Yeah, I'm doing the exact same thing here. I'm trying to rush forward, trying to get help for these ships in D. That I'm completely oblivious to the fact that I'm almost capturing this area, And when I almost capture it, I just sail out of the zone. Big error on my part. But I am slowly but steadily doing damage over time to this battleship through fire damage. Another HE penetrates, or at least explodes on the deck of the ship, doing a bit more damage. And it's time to get a couple of shots in on Nuremberg. I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to be able to hit him accurately at Citadel areas, so I'm again loading HE in this situation. He seems to be moving really slowly. And unfortunately, I can no longer get a good shot on him. So it's time to start working up other ships, such as this Gneisenau. Moving forward, again, Gneisenau, German ship, pretty damn well armored and heavily armed for especially anti-cruiser warfare. So it's up to me to try and nail this guy. He is, fortunately for me, engaged with other battleships, but it's the question of if that's going to take long enough for me to actually be able to take care of this ship. A couple more rounds going in. Long range fire, and long range fire seems to be quite effective when it plunges through the deck. So I'm trying to get a decent distance on him, as well as lowering my speed to not make it too easy for him to actually hit me. Again, some AA guns knocked off, but that really isn't helping considering there's no carrier. I need to put this guy on fire. Gneisenau returns fire. I de-zoom or zoom out and angle the ship to completely bow on to make sure that whatever fires or whatever shells he fires hopefully bounce off of my bow, as well as making myself a more difficult target to hit. But Gneisenau does not really find that to be a particular problem, and actually gets a lot of damage right through the bow of my ship, possibly by hitting the superstructure. Another hit comes in, and it does another decent amount of damage. Gneisenau is now so close that I switch to AP and try to get a couple of, well, semi-citadels, because it's hard to get actual citadels on this ship. That doesn't mean I won't be able to do a lot of damage to him. Almost 5k there with one salvo. Unfortunately, I reload a little bit faster than he does. Gneisenau, I believe, has a rate of fire closer to 3 rounds a minute, whereas I'm closer to 4 rounds a minute. If I can keep doing damage over time to this guy, I should be able to survive. Put him on fire for a bit of damage over time. And just as I fire my last salvo, a Tirpitz manages to take care of the Gneisenau. So, 84,000 damage in the hole. Time to move up, because there's still an engagement going on the right flank. A couple of torpedoes coming in. Last parting gift from the Gneisenau. Unfortunately for him, at that stage I was already way away and back up to steam to try and engage these other survivors over on the right flank. There is a ship way behind me, a pretty full health Bayern, but he's engaged by a Bayern. The Farragut seems to try and close in for a torpedo run. I wouldn't be surprised if that Tirpitz is also helping out. So instead, time to move up to D, help out my own Gneisenau and the Amagi, and try to get some damage in on whatever ship happens to come around the corner first. As well as trying to move back as fast as possible and capture C, because that is still something that needs to be done. So moving up, you can see that North Carolina has taken quite a pounding, but it is regaining health. It's slowly but steadily building up again, and let's hope that the Gneisenau and the Amagi can carefully, but especially expediently, take care of this ship, as you don't want to have that thing staying alive for too much longer. Now, this North Carolina is doing an interesting maneuver. He's maneuvering through that strait over there to push from D into C, and in doing so, we're going to be meeting up very close. He's already at 8 clicks away, and unfortunately, he is still way concealed from me. There's no way I can hit him. So, only thing that I can do is just continue to close in and hope that this guy is going to be so preoccupied with the other battleship that we have there that I won't be targeted, because he can pretty reliably one-shot my ship, considering I only have almost 8,000 left. Rounds going in on the Nuremberg. Long-range fire wasn't really accurate, and I don't do any damage on him. Here comes the North Carolina. I'm slowing down slightly to try and keep my distance. A couple of shots going in. Nice amount of damage there, 3,600. And this ship is moving so slow that it's a really easy target. And I can pretty much pinpoint exactly where I want my shits, where I want my shots to go. 1,800 damage. I take a bit of secondary fire, but nothing too serious. And it seems that the North Carolina is still focused on Gneisenau to my right. Still keeping bow on. He pushes out and I get a nice amount of damage in. 6,000 at short range. Kills off the enemy battleship, leaving just the Fuso over there. And there's not that much that I can do about him. In the end, I believe that this Fuso actually manages to survive the battle. I'm trying to do damage against him with AP at long range. Doesn't really do anything. Almost 1,800 damage, but still, I was hoping for a bit more. Again, pointing straight to this battleship to try and limit the exposure of my flat sides or my broadsides. Bit of damage, 4,000. That's better. And before he moves away, I'm trying to put him on fire. And again, I want to try and capture C, but nothing much is going to happen towards the end of the game. So, let's have a look at the post-battle result screens. So, New Orleans, not too bad. 315,000 credits, 3,400 XP, 171 free XP, couple of citadels done, bit of flag defending, bit of capturing. I did get another mission done, the II Captain, which was running for the weekend, which means that I got a bit more Commander XP. Team score puts me on the top of the list with 2,273 base XP. Detailed report is now also indicating the amount of spotting damage and the amount of potential damage that I was able to avoid by either bouncing or not getting hit. Look at that. I mitigated almost 800,000 points of damage against a cruiser that only has, I believe, 39,000 hit points, which means that if I would have gotten hit, I would have been killed about 20 times over. Still, a nice amount of damage done to the North Carolina. Decent amount of damage done to other ships. The enemy New Orleans took a monster hit from those citadels on the bow, I believe. Gneisenau a bit of damage. Fuso got killed off, or at least Fuso got hit and actually managed to survive the battle. Credits and XP overview. You can see that I am running some premium units, which means that the auto resupply for the consumables is costing me 45k. Net still 154,000, and I earned 3,410 XP in that game. So, my apologies to the New Orleans or New Orleans. It is a good ship. I just wasn't using it the right way. So, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any replays that you'd like me to have a look at and post on YouTube, then please do so. Link and information on that in the description down below, but make sure that you have both the replay file and screenshots of the result screens. Otherwise, it's going to be really difficult for me to get a good video out, as the wargaming replay feature for all the warships is really not that good. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon for more videos.